Can AMD hit $200 by the end of this year? More importantly, can it hit it the right way? And that's what I want to talk about in today's episode. And you might be wondering, Jose, what the heck does the right way mean? Well, let's get started.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right, so first we can see that AMD has hit $200 in the past. On March 8th of 2024, the stock ended the day at a roughly $207. Now, if you are familiar with this channel, we talked about how $207 was completely overvalued during that time frame, and I'm happy I did those videos just then. Now, right now, during that price target of $200 in 2024, the market was excited about the AI space, was excited about maybe AMD becoming the next NVIDIA. Unfortunately, it didn't play out, or it didn't play out in the time frame the market wanted. While I don't believe AMD is going to be the next NVIDIA, I do believe AMD can grow massively thanks to this AI space. So the market had the right thought, in my opinion, in March of 2024, but the time frame was just a little too early. Now, let's look at revenue expectations, and I'll explain why this is crucial in the future, in the next few seconds. But current expectations in revenue for AMD for 2025 is roughly $33 billion in revenue. That is a 30% year-over-year growth based on the numbers they had in 2024. Now, for 2026, the market and analyst expectations are not that hopeful for AMD. They believe the company will hit roughly $37 billion by 2026 in revenue, and that's only a 12% growth from the 2025 expectations. Now, I personally believe that these numbers for 2026 are pretty weak, and the market is underestimating what AMD can provide. So I believe the answer is, if AMD could hit $200 by the end of the year, the answer is yes, if expectations jump to $43 billion. And this is actually very possible, as analysts could increase price targets and revenue expectations throughout the year. As we're going to see, I personally believe that $43 billion by 2026 is very possible for AMD's revenue. Now, unfortunately, my expectations and my revenue guidance don't really drive stock price. What really drives stock price is expectations and estimates of these other analysts. So while I do believe AMD will eventually hit those numbers, I think the market is just not understanding this business. So you might be wondering, Jose, why is $43 billion such a crucial number for you to have estimations or expectations in for this stock to hit $200 by the end of the year? So really easy, based on multiples of forward price to sales ratio. So at a $43 billion revenue expectation by the end of 2026, this would put the stock on the end of this year at a forward price to sales ratio of roughly 7.5, which is not that crazy overvalued, right? Right now, the median of this company's price to sales ratio is about 6.8. It's currently trading at 6.4. So because of the advancements in the AI space, because of the advancements in market share in CPUs for data centers and for the client space, I believe it is okay to give this a little bit of a multiple expansion boost. 7.5 actually isn't that crazy. It could be even a lot higher, and if it's a lot higher, these expectations need to be even lower. But 7.5 feels safe for me. Now, we can see in March of 2024, the stock's forward price to sales ratio was trading at around 13, maybe closer to 14. Very easy sign of it being overvalued, or the market pricing maybe a little bit too much hype. Now, can it hit $43 billion of expectations? And throughout this episode, I'm going to showcase, yes, that I believe this is very much possible. It doesn't mean 43 is where it's going to hit. That's not my number, but can it hit it? And those are two different questions. That's a compounded annual growth rate of 30% from fiscal year of 2024. So within 2 years, can this company grow revenue 30% every single year? We believe that in 2025, well, the market believes that yes, 2025 can actually do it. Now, 2026 is the time where the market believes the growth might slow down. Now, I'll explain a little bit more, but if you are enjoying the episode, make sure to hit the thumbs up, to subscribe. I'm trying to hit 75,000 subs by the end of the year. Make sure to check out my free newsletter, whatthechiphappened.com, and make sure for you to get all these pretty cool charts that I'll be showing in today's episode to join me on fiscal.ai/Jose. Get 15% off any paid plans automatically applied at checkout. You also get 2 free weeks for free, but this platform is awesome. I use it on a daily basis. Use fiscal.ai/Jose. Now, before I kind of give my base expectations, this is not my true expectation, but at least a baseline, I want to showcase what AMD's management has said about their overall market. So Gene, the CFO of AMD, mentions that in the first half for AMD, we actually expect revenue to be up 30% despite of export controls and tariffs uncertainties year over year. And of course, we're driving earnings expansion much faster than revenue growth. What's most exciting is actually the second half of this year, right? So they're already expecting 30% year over year growth on the first half of this year, but the second half is expecting to be even much, much higher. So right off the bat, we can see that this current expectations based on commentary from management of $33 billion is very, very weak because they are already expecting that on a very uncertain time and not even including their second half, which is including the MI350. So overall, Jean mentions that she would say that 2024 was a year to build the foundation and that 2025 really is an inflection point for them to drive top line revenue growth, not only for 2025, but beyond. And again, earning expansion even much faster. So right off the bat, commentary from AMD showcases that the market might still be underestimating, even if they're giving us the kind of numbers right off the bat already. They kind of break down the markets that they're in. What we're seeing is continued momentum with their CPU server business, and on the client and on the business side, it has been performing really well. So the other thing she's actually pleased about is their gaming business. We went through this really deep correction, but now the inventory is normalized and we're actually seeing customers on the gaming console side. They actually start to build for the holiday season in Q2 and Q3. So clients on the gaming business performed really, really well. Now, Lisa Su in the most recent earnings mentioned what we face some headwinds from the dynamic macro and regulatory environments. They continue to see some strong numbers. Again, the backdrop, we remain confident we can deliver strong double-digit percentage revenue growth in 2025 based on accelerating share gains with our latest generation of Zen 5 EPYC and Ryzen CPUs and Radeon GPUs in the ramp production of the MI350. We also expect full-year growth in our semi-custom business and for our embedded business to return to year-over-year growth in the second half of this year, driven by the reduced inventory levels and improving demand environment. Overall, I mean, Lisa Su and Jean, the CFO, have mentioned that they are very bullish in revenue growth. Unfortunately, they don't give us actual numbers of guidance. I wish they did, but I think it's because this company doesn't want to under promise. I think numbers they would give us are very sandbagging, and this is such a volatile market. But from commentary, I believe 2025 in forms of revenue expectations can easily beat that 30%, and 2026 is also setting up to be a good year. Now, I kind of want to showcase just an overall market trend of the markets that AMD provides in. The data center market, we can see 2025, the second half, strong growth from the MI350, which will actually trickle into the 2026 era as well. The MI400, if it does come out earlier and than expected, can also help out there. So in the data center market, you have the AI is a massive tailwind. You have server and CPU market share gain. You unfortunately have a year-over-year headwind from the Chinese market. But if that ever picks back up or if that ever reopens, this is another massive tailwind of AMD hitting those $43 billion even quicker. Now, the client and the gaming side, we see CPU market share gains, which is pretty impressive. For 2026, I expect market share. I expect average selling prices to increase as things like AI PCs and more chips are needed in our computers. Plus, you have gaming consoles. Plus, you have handheld devices. There are rumors that 2026 is when we're going to start to see the announcements of the next PS5, the next PlayStation, and the next Xbox. And we are already getting all those cool handhelds that are powered by AMD chips. Now, the embedded market we saw is in the bottom, but overall, that market is growing dramatically. And we are expected to start to see year over year growth by the second half of this year. And I think that trend will continue as things like AI industrial is a massive, massive opportunity. Now, I just want to showcase some data, some market numbers. Data center, we can see this is expected to continue to grow to massive levels throughout the next few years. Computing is expected to grow massive levels based on NVIDIA numbers as well. So both AMD and NVIDIA are expecting a lot and a lot of growth due to the data center. So this is the one that, in my opinion, has to lead the pack for this revenue expectations of $43 billion. Now, I wanted to look at peak numbers and see how far we are from peak numbers to hit that $43 billion. So in data center, the peak is actually the last 12 months, which is roughly $14 billion. The embedded market peaked at $5.3 billion in 2023, and the gaming and client side peaked in 2022 for $13 billion. That alone, if we just add up all those peaks, equal about a $33 billion revenue. Now, I believe by the end of 2026, the embedded market and the client gaming and client market will hit new records. So even expecting, and again, these are not true estimates, this is just a baseline of where they can go. Embedded market, $6 billion driven by AI industrials, AI autonomous, AI robotics can be very, very strong. And $6 billion, I believe it's possible. The gaming and clients, they're growing market growth in forms of market share. They're increasing the average selling price as well. $15 billion is also very possible. That alone is around $21 billion in revenue. Now, AMD by 2026 estimates only needs to do $22 billion in data center market. It did $14 billion in the last 12 months. Can this grow at a 26% compounded annual growth rate for the next 2 years? I think the answer is very possible, yes. The MI350 is definitely going to give this company extra revenue, a lot more revenue. Their overall server CPUs are also going to continue to grow market share. $22 billion, a 26% compounded annual growth rate is not impossible in a market where CapEx continues to grow with all these data center players. I mean, just this year, right, we're expecting over almost $500 billion in capital expenditure just this year alone if you add all these companies using AI. So if AMD can only take a small portion of this market in a year, it can grow dramatically by 2026. So these aren't my revenue estimations for 2026, but it's more my revenue baseline. And again, I mean, we see in the upcoming quarters advancing in national economics. We have a lot of AI infrastructure being built all around the world. We have massive partnerships with 7 of the largest companies: Microsoft, Meta, OpenAI, Tesla, xAI, Oracle, Humane. All those are massive spenders of AI. And if they all spend a few billion here and there in 2026, this is very, very exciting for AMD. And I do believe that $22 billion is very, very possible. So the question is, can AMD hit $200 by the end of this year? I believe the answer is yes. Now, I would be more excited if it does do it the right way. And that right way is if analysts continue to upgrade their price target and we see that price target get closer to $43 billion. And again, my projections, I believe that a base of 43 is very, very much possible. I'm not smart enough to put a true revenue expectations, but 43 is definitely possible. And even if the market doesn't give it these expectations, I believe the market is completely undervaluing this stock because of that. And it gives great opportunities for long-term investors to continue to add in. So take care, have a good day, and see you all next time.